Well, the Indiana Hoosiers miss another opportunity.
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. It is the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here and making this your first listen each and every day. We are a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions apply. Indiana loses to Northwestern 76-72, and another missed opportunity for this team, for this program to get a quality win, to try and add something decent to the very small, almost non-existent NCAA tournament resume, and ended up being a pretty disappointing defeat at the end of the day. We'll break it all down for you on the show. Likes and dislikes, looking ahead, and all of that and more on today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers. I appreciate you being here through the wins, through the losses, through everything. I do appreciate you being here and making this your go-to spot for all things Indiana athletics. Like the video, subscribe to the channel on YouTube. We are growing rapidly, and you are the reason. So thank you so much for that. And if you're on your audio platforms, we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. Indiana and Mike Woodson lose to Northwestern again, 76-72. The only team that Mike Woodson has not beaten in the Big Ten since he became the head coach here in Bloomington is Northwestern, and that is the case once again, 76-72. And, overall in this game, Indiana fought. We fought really hard in this game, not for 40 minutes, but for about 30 of it spread out over 40 minutes. And look, that's more than we've seen for most of this season. For most of the games this year, it hasn't been that. It's been 20 minutes, maybe 15 minutes. And while it was not the entire game, which is disappointing, this team fought really hard. Indiana fought extremely hard in this basketball game, and it was great to see. It was refreshing. It was nice to be excited and see the team excited and see the guys fighting and wanting to be there and wanting to play in this game. You just couldn't pull it out at the end. And you had done such a good job of defending. You had done such a good job of restraining Boo Buie. You fought through foul trouble. You fought through poor shooting. You fought through timely shooting for Northwestern. Turnovers from you, non-turnovers from the Cats. I mean, so many things that we fought through in this game, just could not pull it out in the end, which is why I am not as upset or disappointed as some of you probably are, and as we have been in the past. And look, overall, this was a game that we very well could have won. Some would say should have won, but we didn't. And it's another missed opportunity. It's another missed game, another win that we needed in our book, in our back pocket, to show the NCAA tournament committee. And it's now put you in such a tough spot with 5 games to go. You have to win out. Pretty much. You pretty much have to win out and get some help in the Big Ten tournament as well. But that is for a later time, and we'll look ahead later on in the show. You start looking at some of the stats, and we'll get to likes and dislikes coming up in a minute as well. But final score 76-72 for Indiana. You had Kel'el Ware, who had 22 points, 10 of 14. Pick and roll game was working really well with him. And man, he can make some really tough shots down low. It really is impressive to watch him go to work. 16 rebounds for Kel'el Ware. 16 of the 37 for Indiana. You actually almost win the rebounding battle. You didn't, but you only lost it by 1. It was the offensive rebounds for Northwestern. We'll get to those later that really killed us in this game. But another double-double for Kel'el Ware. He played all but 4 minutes in this game, 22 points and 16 rebounds. How about Mackenzie Mgbako today? How about him looking refreshed, looking young, looking fired up, looking like a pretty damn good basketball player today. 20 points, 6 of 11 from the floor, 3 of 6 from downtown, helped Indiana hit 6 total threes, shot 18 of them, made 6. That's fine. He was the reason that we went on a run there at the end of the game and actually brought it all the way down to the wire, right? So Mgbako had 20 points, only 4 rebounds. I'd love to see that get up and be a little bit more. But again, I think he had a really, really good day. And problem is, you were stuck in some serious foul trouble here because outside of those two, you just didn't get a whole lot. You had Trey Galloway with 7, Gabe Cupps with 8, believe it or not, and was 2 of 3 from downtown. His shot looked really good in this game against Northwestern. And you have Malik Renew with just 9. And yes, I say just 9 because that's your leading scorer night in and night out, believe it or not. And Malik Renew having foul trouble, 3 fouls in the first half. He fouled out again in this basketball game. They said it on the broadcast, and it's absolutely right. He's too good to be fouling out. Indiana needs him. We need him too much. He's too crucial to be fouling out and be stuck on the bench in foul trouble. He's got to figure out a way to stay out of that. He had 9 points, 4 of 9 shooting, had 5 rebounds, in just 24 minutes of play. There's your story. Malik Renew played 24 minutes compared to 36 from Kel'el Ware and 40 from Trey Galloway and 35 from Mackenzie Mgbako. And then your bench, of course, was non-existent once again today. Had 6 total points, 2 from Walker, 2 from Gunn, and 2 from Peyton Sparks. I mean, I don't understand it. Now, Northwestern didn't have anything off their bench either. They had 1 point off their bench. But when you're a team that struggles offensively and you don't get help from the guys behind the starters, it's nearly impossible to win games. And that's what Indiana's going through right now. Shooting-wise, Hoosiers shot it well. We shot 51% from the floor compared to 35% for Northwestern. They had some timely threes, though. Made 2 more than we did, but man, some of those were just timely. And they just held Indiana out, right? They just held out arm's length, and Indiana got back within 5, got back within 4, cut it down to 1 possession, and then just could not ever get over the hump. Could not ever take the lead. And Northwestern's a good basketball team. And eventually you let Boo Buie go off. And you let Boo Buie beat you in that second half. You knew it was going to happen. He went a long time without hitting a field goal, and then he started hitting some crazy shots from 3. He's good enough to make them. They weren't lucky by any means. And Boo Buie was the difference maker in this basketball game. Hoosiers lose to Northwestern 76-72. Another missed opportunity, one that you pretty much had to have if you're Indiana. They don't get it. They fall on their home floor here in Bloomington. Once again, we'll talk about likes and dislikes, plus looking ahead on the rest of the season. That's all coming up on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by LinkedIn. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. It gives you access to professionals you can't find anywhere else. LinkedIn does all of that while making the process easy and intuitive. And when you have that many quality candidates, hiring is easy. So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. LinkedIn is constantly finding ways to make the process easier. They even just launched a feature that helps you write job descriptions, making the process even easier and quicker. Post your jobs for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Welcome back into Locked On Hoosiers. I appreciate you being here, making this your go-to spot for all things Indiana athletics. Hoosiers and Mike Woodson on the basketball floor lose to Northwestern 76-72. We talk about it every time after every single game. Likes and dislikes after this performance. I'd mentioned already that we shot 51% from the floor. That's a great percentage. That's really, really good. Now, a lot of those shots were down the stretch, and I was planning on coming on here and talking about the offensive struggles, and I think we can still have a conversation about that, about only scoring 72 points and needing a huge run at the end in the last minute of the game to ellipse that 70-point mark. You've got to find some scoring, man. You've got to score to win in college basketball. Look around. Look around the game. Teams are scoring 80 points a game, and this Indiana team just doesn't have it in them. They don't have it in them more times than not. Why? Because they can't shoot the three consistently. Now, we made 6 of them today, 6 of 18, 33%. We'll take that, but the inability to do it throughout a 40-minute basketball game is really, really hurting us. And Northwestern still made 2 more than you did. And guess what? You lost by 4. There you go. You could say that is the reason that they won the game. Free throw shooting. Oh my God. It's terrible. No wonder this team can't win. Not only can we not shoot threes, we can't shoot free throws. 12 of 21 from the free throw line. Northwestern was 22 of 28. They missed 6. We missed 9. You lost by 3. Or you lost by 4, and you missed 3. And you see what I'm saying here? You missed 3 more than they did. There's another factor on why you lost this game. Turnovers. How about this number? Lots of dislikes right now. Indiana had 11. Okay, not terrible, not great, but not terrible. You're on your home floor. You'd like to see that be a little bit less. How about Northwestern? 3 turnovers on the road in conference play. Yeah, you're going to win just about every time doing that. And you would think that a basketball team would get lucky and a team would turn it over a few times on accident, would make a couple of mistakes, but Northwestern just didn't do that. They're a very experienced team. They're well coached, a great head coach they've got. And Indiana didn't force many turnovers. They didn't do anything to put pressure on Northwestern. They didn't swat at the ball. They didn't double team. They didn't trap. They didn't take the initiative on defense to do what they had to do. They just didn't create and force any bad plays. And Northwestern had a field day on us. And only 3 turnovers on the road, man. That's going to do it. And you had 11 points off of turnovers for the Cats, none for us, for the Hoosiers. So there's another factor on why we lost. I talked about the rebounding numbers, 38 to 37 Northwestern. That's fine. But here's another number that killed us. Offensive rebounds, 14 for Northwestern, 6 for Indiana. Second chance points, 12 to 6. Guess what? That's a 6-point difference. You lost by 4. All right. I'm just telling you, those things matter, man. Those things absolutely matter. And Indiana just could not ever catch up. They couldn't ever get back. Here's a huge like, though. We've had a lot of dislikes. Here's a massive thing that I loved. For the first time this season, and I'm talking the first time all year long, Indiana and this Hoosiers team came out of the locker room in the second half and played inspired basketball. They played motivated. They played high energy. They played good. They played really, really well. That was the best I have seen our team play coming out of the second half this entire season. And look what happened. You go on an immediate 7-0 run, put a ton of pressure on that Northwestern team when you were down by 8, and all of a sudden, we've got ourselves a ball game again. It's crazy what happens when you do that. Now, you let Boo Buie go off and you let Boo Buie wake up and you couldn't shut him down, and not many people can. And then you made another run at the end of the game and you made it interesting. And so for me, that's why this performance and this result, I should say, the result is upsetting, but the performance wasn't, if that makes sense. There were things we got to clean up and things that need to be fixed. All of those dislikes that I just talked about. But for one of the few times, I don't think we can be upset about the effort here. I don't think we can be upset about the 40 minutes of basketball that were played, because Indiana tried. They fought, and they really did try to win this thing. And I'm not saying there are moral victories and throw a pity party. You know me, I'm not doing that. but it was refreshing. It was good to see us give a crap and want to play, right? And that second half start was so unique and it was so energizing. And it got the crowd going in Assembly Hall here in Bloomington. It got people engaged and excited. And that was one of the more fun games I've seen in a while when we were involved. Like so many of these games here recently, I look back at the Purdue games and the Penn State game and even the Illinois and the Wisconsin games. Like those were not fun. Those were not exciting in losses. And even the ones in wins, like the Iowa game and the Ohio State was a fun game, but the Iowa game wasn't all that great because it just hasn't had a whole lot of flow. And I think that's something that I really liked here too, was this Hoosiers team had a little bit of swagger in this game against Northwestern. They could feel it a little bit of confidence goes a long way. I've been trying to tell us that and tell you that all it takes is a little bit of confidence. And I think you could say that came from guys like Mackenzie Mgbako today, hitting shots, being that guy, being aggressive, being good on defense. Or Trey Galloway saying, give me the ball and get out of the way. Let me do something on offense. That was a huge boost for us in this game against Northwestern. Those things that just haven't really happened this year were happening in this game. Unfortunately, you were getting a lot of those things, but you were getting other things that were bad. Malik Renew in foul trouble, not rebounding the basketball, not making your free throws, turning the ball over and not forcing turnovers. So you couldn't get all of that to come together, but my goodness, if it ever does. I mean, if it ever does, we're going to be in a good spot. Problem is, we're running out of time. Problem is, we've only got a handful of games left. How many do we have? I believe we have 6 total games left with Nebraska coming up this week in the midweek. I mean, I'm a huge subscriber to the line of thinking of you are who you are at this point, mid to late February. As a basketball team, you are who you are. But just maybe. We've asked for this for a long time. Maybe this was something to build on. Maybe this was a spark. Maybe this was, okay, it is in there. We have this going for us. Let's see how we can finish strong for Indiana, for the colors we wear, for our fans. And we got nothing to lose at this point. We're not a tournament team. Go out and give it everything you got, right? Go out and play with your heart on your sleeve and see what happens. I think there were some great things in this game, and whether it be for this season or the season after, the result was disappointing. Yes, it was another missed opportunity for us, but this was a fun game. It was a fun game that I think we can be proud of Indiana for, and that I'm thankful for. Coming up in our final segment on Locked On Hoosiers, we'll take a look ahead. What is coming up for this team? What's next? How can we try to bounce back again with the last few games on the schedule? Because opportunities remain. There's no doubt about it. Opportunities remain. Plus, what else happened in the Big Ten this weekend? Some big-time upsets, even one across the state. We'll talk about that coming up here on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by FanDuel. Get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. Any NBA game going on. You had the All-Star stuff go on this weekend, back half of the regular season going on, hockey, NASCAR, whatever you're into. $5 bet. If it wins, FanDuel, they'll give you $150 just like that. Bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets, live same-game parlays, exclusive props, and more. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and shoot your shot. FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Final segment here on Locked On Hoosiers. Again, I love that you're here. I appreciate you being here. Like the video, subscribe to our channel on YouTube. I can get you an updated subscriber count. We're pushing towards 1,800 currently. As of this recording, 1,793. Help us get to 1,800, then to 1,900, and then to 2,000. We are so close, folks, and you are the reason for that. So thank you so much. And all of you on the audio version as well, I appreciate you. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast. Indiana loses to Northwestern 76-72. What's next? What do we do now? Where do we go from here? Well, you got 6 games left on the schedule. Nebraska at home this week in the midweek. That's what, and sidestep. That's what's disappointing here with the results is you were at home again. And we have just not been able to defend home court this season. Northwestern, Penn State, Purdue, right? You had you in the Big Ten schedule. That's really disappointing to me. That really is disappointing. I understand when you go on the road and you lose at Nebraska, at Wisconsin, at Illinois, at Purdue. That's understandable. But not being able to defend home floor, our home floor, Assembly Hall, the greatest building on the earth, you can't defend that. That's disappointing. That is upsetting to me. So, you look ahead and you're like, okay, you've got 3 more big games in Assembly Hall. Nebraska this week, Wisconsin later on, and Michigan State at the end of the year. And you're thinking, wow, what a great opportunity. What a great chance to win some games on our home floor, build our resume a little bit more. But in Big Ten play, playing in Bloomington hasn't been an advantage for us. And I'm not saying that's on the fans or the building or anything like that. That has nothing to do with it. I'm just saying we haven't been winning games here as much as we normally do and as much as we should because of how difficult it is to win on the road. And that sucks. Like that just is, it's upsetting, man. And it's disappointing because not only do you have this game against Nebraska this week, you then have a rematch with Penn State, who came here and beat us. You've got to go and play them at their place over the weekend. Then you have Wisconsin back home on the 27th, who is still a top 20 team, but my goodness, they have just been crashing and burning out of the sky through the atmosphere, and they've caught fire on the way down. Let me tell you, they went a 4-game losing streak, bounced back against Ohio State, and then lost against Iowa. And speaking of that Ohio State team, did you see what happened this weekend? Not only did we lose, hey, Purdue lost too. A team that was number 2 in the country, was one of the number 1 overall seeds in the NCAA's tournament, the top 16 rankings, because they think that's important to do in mid-February. They went and got beat by Ohio State after they fired their head coach, did the Buckeyes. Pretty crazy, I know. But for us, Indiana, home versus Nebraska, at Penn State, home versus Wisconsin, then at Maryland, at Minnesota, and home for Michigan State. You look at these games, none of them are unwinnable for us. I firmly believe that. None of them are like, wow, there's number 2 Purdue again. Can't beat them. You've got one ranked team on there. You've got a couple of tournament teams on there. Northwestern was obviously a tournament team. You couldn't get that one done. But this is a stretch that I just don't think we can afford another loss. And that's crazy to say, but I believe it. I just don't think we can afford another one. And I just don't know if we've got it in us because we've yet to go on any sort of winning streak since Big Ten play. We haven't won back-to-back games in Big Ten play. Nevertheless, go on a streak of 3 or more. So what gives us the confidence that we can win 5 games in a row? I don't have it. I don't know. I don't have it. And unless they really did just figure something out in this game and they just turn on the Jets for whatever reason, which would be nice to see, would be a little frustrating that it's just now happening, but I'm not going to complain about it. That confidence just isn't there because, again, you're now 2 games under 500 in conference play. The only streak you've gone on is the losing streak of 3 against Purdue, Wisconsin, and Illinois. So I don't know. I don't know, man. Brutal loss for us against Northwestern. The performance was not disappointing, but another opportunity missed because you played good enough to win. You didn't play great, but neither did Northwestern. You just couldn't pull out a win. And there's some good players on that team. There's some good senior leadership on that team for Northwestern, and I think it showed. And I think it showed that they had more maturity and leadership than we did at the end of the day. And how can we overcome that in these last 6 games? Man, we're going to find out. And it starts with Nebraska in the midweek. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you making this your first listen each and every day. We're having fun regardless, right? We're having fun regardless. Hey, Baseball, softball season both underway. Women's basketball still doing their thing. So while the men may not be performing like we want them to, we've still got other sports to talk about. Spring football on the way as well. So much more to cover on Locked On Hoosiers. So be sure you come back each and every day. Turn on notifications, whether you're on YouTube or on your audio platform. We appreciate you being here and making this your first listen each and every day. So until next time, Hoosier fans, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.